All right, good afternoon. This is Gordon at the Victor Farmington Library. This is my first attempt at tying a fly here. We're using the library's camera. A lot of new stuff here. Messed around quite a while to get the thing in focus, but this is about as good as we'll get here. I think that's acceptable, and I'm going to attempt to tie a woolly bugger for the first time this year. First time in about a year that I've tied a fly. So let's see, I've got a number 12 4X streamer hook in the vise. It's going to put a brass bead on that first, which is a 5/32 bead. So and you want to put the small end of the hook. Boy, I can see why this is hard to do. I'll put that on there. Got my bead in. Clamp this in. I don't have one of those fancy cam deal vices, but this is a pretty good vise. All right, got our bead in. I'm using number 8 black uni thread. And let's just make a nice thread base for the whole deal. I'm not going to put any additional weight on this, but normally I would use that non-toxic lead stuff here. Okay, clip that off. Now I kind of tie things on in the reverse order that I want to use them here. Actually, the first thing I want to do is put in my marabou for the tail. I'm going to tie a black and olive woolly bugger. So I've got my piece of marabou here. I know a lot of people like to wet these. This is probably a good idea. You want it about the hook length. That's getting there. Okay. Maybe a little shorter, about right there. All right. Tie this guy on. Cut off that excess there. Wind that on there and kind of crimp it up. Go back to the just to remind everyone who may see this, I'm probably the absolute worst fly tyer in our chapter. Okay. Let's see. Next thing I'm going to put on is the piece of hackle and then my chenille. There's only 4 materials in this: the bead, the hackle, the marabou, and the chenille. Actually, I'll put the chenille on next. Tie that on. Let's strip off the end a little bit, I remember. So you can expose the thread. Pinch that on there. Don't lasso the hook, which I'm famous for. Okay, and then tie in my piece of hackle. This is whiting. This is actually made for hook size number 12, so it should look pretty good. Grizzly hackle. I think you call this brown and white stuff. Strip away these fibers so I can anchor it in. Oh, it's a little better focus. Getting the focus on this was the biggest challenge today. Get that pinched in there. Actually, I should put the hackle in first, but okay. Trim some of this excess off here. Doing better. My flies aren't the prettiest looking suckers, but I will catch fish with this. Okay, now let's wrap our chenille. Actually move our thread to the front. I always like to have beads on these flies. You don't need a bead. And start my wrap. This is a rotary vise, so I could also do it this way. Not bad. Wrap that in there real good. Other things you can do with this, I'm not going to on this fly, but you can put some flash on the sides. And okay, got my chenille in. Now I'm just going to I know you're supposed to put the shiny side down. I didn't even look when I tied it, but I just wondered what that was supposed to do. And make that look pretty bushy. Here again, I could also use the rotary feature. That up next to the bead. Make sure I do some wraps right at the bead. So that's actually not a bad looking fly. It will catch fish, as we say. That wrapped in good. A lot of times the woolly buggers I tie, this is where I make my mistake. I don't get it in tight enough, and then after I catch a few fish, the hackle unravels. Okay, got the hackle off. Well, actually, you got to really practice with the camera here. Got it in there good. And I'm ready to use my whip finisher. There it is. I think it drove me nuts learning to tie flies, but often it just happens. There it goes. You get a number 4 triangle there. Around and around and around we go. Bottom end, pull the top away. And give it a touch of cement here. See, we got the Sally Hansen hard as nails. Tim Flagler's special there. Some of that in. Don't glue your hackle in. Oops, got it all over the bead there, but hopefully it'll soak in. Love that smell. And there is my first attempt at video recording how to tie a woolly bugger. Doesn't look too bad. It's not as close up as some of these professionals do, But, you know, considering the equipment and the price was right, I think we're in good shape. All right, let's stop that recording and we'll replay it.